Ladies and gentle germs, we thank you for choosing Woodwir Cinemas for your show experience today. But before the show gets started, let's all go to the lobby to get some snacks. And now it's time for your feature presentation, Lobby Snacks with Coby and Rosy.
Music, because we can't hear it yet.
How you doing?
I edit it in post.
Fix it in post. How you doing, Beeman?
I am doing fantastic. I'm, long day at work, and I'm here ready to talk about our favorite movie news in the lobby.
Movie news. I love it. It's my favorite. I'm not in the lobby right now.
Oh, yes, you're in the theater. You're ready for the show.
I'm ready to go, dude. I'm ready. I'm ready to let's just get on with it.
Yeah.
I am tired. I've had a hell of a week.
Mm-hmm.
Ran out of water. And by that I mean our water tank broke. So that was fun.
That's lovely.
So I'm just exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, as exhausting as it was, eventful.
Yeah, in pop culture, everything, just a lot happening. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. I don't know if it's something in the water or if the moon is making everybody crazy or what kind of spiritual alignments are happening, but it's just wild.
Yeah, as you said, like there's something in the air, there's something in the water, there's something in the fire that is making Hollywood go crazy, the world go crazy, and subsequently us, and we're the ones that have to talk about it.
Oh, dude. I can't. I just try to escape from it, though. I mean, like, what did we just finished it yesterday, actually. I rewatched it and I showed Brent for the first time. The White Lotus, the first season on HBO.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I watched it when it first came out, and it was like, the weekly thing. And I liked it, but it was like, meh. And so I rewatched it because the second season's coming out soon. And it's definitely like a binge watch. Like, you have to binge watch it.
Yeah, it's on my list because the writer Mike White, he was Ned TV in I don't know if I said that right, but he was Ned in School of Rock, and he was also on a season of Survivor where he got the inspiration to write The White Lotus.
Oh, sweet.
So it's on my list, and it's something I really do need to watch.
Yeah, do it. And the second season's coming out soon. It's really good. It like as much it made me want to go on a vacation in the most ethical way possible.
Yeah, what's it about? What's the synopsis?
So basically, a bunch of these rich white people go on a luxurious vacation to this like resort hotel on one of the islands in Hawaii. And it's kind of like they set it up at the very start. Somebody died. Don't know who. We do know who it wasn't at the very start, but we don't know who died. We don't know who did it, what happened, like any of that. So it's like a whodunit kind of situation.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, and it's really like it's told in like a different kind of way. It still has that like murder mystery kind of feel where it's like, dinner party murder mystery. Everybody is like a character. And everybody has their own like plot that they're following and their own motivations. And so all the characters are very like self-driven and self-motivated, which is really cool. But they all interact with one another and they all like disperse and stuff. And I have my favorite characters and I have my least favorite characters. But yeah, it's really fun. It's a fun watch. Jennifer Coolidge is in it. So like,
I love her.
I know that's enough. Yeah. Jennifer Coolidge is enough to just like go watch it.
I did read a report that like obviously for season 2 they wanted to bring in some new people, but just Jennifer Coolidge is so good that Mike's trying to find a way to bring her in for the second season.
I hope so. She's one of my favorites. She's fantastic. She's like, you just love her.
Did you see her what she said in a recent interview?
No.
She was talking about her American Pie days. So of course she played Stifler's mom.
Of course.
And let's see if I could just find the quote here. She said, oh, well, this article right here from menshealth.com. American Pie star Jennifer Coolidge says she slept with 200 people after playing a MILF. She used the movie to get it good in good old Hollywood, California.
Oh, man. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
There's a video, Jennifer Coolidge on the benefits of being a MILF in American Pie. Quote, there would be like 200 people that I would never had slept with before. Okay, girl, we love you.
You get it. Proud. Happy for her. I love her. She's iconic. She's fantastic in The White Lotus. She's fantastic. So even if you're not interested in any of it whatsoever, she's worth watching.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching some new things this week. We were talking about it just before the podcast, but I'm into the HBO show The Rehearsal, which I think we're going to do a deep dive in it on our next week podcast.
Yep.
But it's Nathan Fielder, Canadian businessman in quotes, is back from his original show Nathan For You with a brand new show, The Rehearsal, which the concept of it is he finds people that have something to get off their chest and he makes them rehearse it before it happens, but he gets HBO money to rehearse it. And it is, and episode 1 to episode 6 plot is totally wild and changes, and I can't wait for you to watch it. I recommend it more than anything. The first episode alone has the most quotes I've ever said to people afterwards. Hard to explain, just turn on The Rehearsal.
I'm definitely gonna binge it this week so that we can deep dive into it. I love Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, journalists, all right, so I grew up around like news, but also comedy and stuff, and so naturally as Canadians we watched This Hour Is 22 Minutes.
Classic.
And ever since then I've been in love with Nathan. He's fantastic. He was my favorite character on that show. I didn't care about any other segment most days. I wanted to just see Nathan. He's amazing. It's just like, how can somebody be like that?
Yeah, but and it's so hard to tell in every single thing he's ever in how serious he is, but from a film standpoint he's a genius. It's what he is.
Yes, it's so fantastically funny,
inventive. It's it takes one of our favorite subjects of gossiping about weird people.
Yeah.
He finds these people and just gets them to be on TV without them knowing any different. And I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. He's fantastic. I need to watch this show. So definitely going to be binging it. We'll be deep diving into it next week, next episode. This episode's gonna be a little chill because I'm low energy. Beeman just worked a long time. So
I'm pretty low energy, so we're holding off for a few weeks on our games because that takes everything out of us. But they are so much fun.
They are a lot of fun. I hope to get guests on for the games just to make it a little more of an event. This week's gonna be chill. We're just gonna talk about some topics, talk about what we normally talk about. It might be a shorter episode as well, but that's up to Beeman.
Yeah. Props to all 15 of you, which is probably just 8 of you because I rewatched the videos because I'm so proud of us. No, I need to edit them, but that watched the hour in 25-minute podcast last week. That was a really good one. I had a lot of fun recording that one, and if you listen to it all, thank you so much.
Yes, we appreciate you so much. We will keep putting out more content, and to all the listeners, past, present, future, and beyond, thank you.
Yes, even if you're listening to this in 2024, hello from the future.
Wow.
What's new? What happened? What happened to Ezra Miller? That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Oh my God. Ezra Miller. I got lots to say.
Yes. Well, Rosie, this is your story. So let's just dive into it. There's no smaller stories. We've talked about our smaller stuff this week. Let's just get right into it. What?
All right.
Pretend like I didn't hear about anything about Ezra.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened?
What happened? Let me tell you. And where should I begin? From the beginning?
When were they born?
They were born in 1992. Their film debut was in After School in 2008.
You can
So
say it.
they were born, actually, this is interesting, September 30th, 1992. So they are almost
Oh.
exactly 5 years older than you.
Yes, we're almost birthday buddies.
Oh,
No, I don't like that.
suspicious.
No, officer. Then no. I am birthday buddies though with Hillary Duff, so that's as much iconicness as I need.
That's much better. That's much better. Okay, so a little personal history about myself and Ezra Miller. So I was never like a massive fan of like their acting or anything, but I remember the first time that I remember seeing them was in We Need to Talk About Kevin. And that movie scarred me. It was just I was what it came out in 2011. It was one of the first movies that ever made me like feel really like just icky all throughout
Gross.
through the whole thing. And Ezra's performance was due in part to that. So I like had a lot of respect for them, and I wanted to see
Well,
more from them. And
yeah, like a 20-year-old actor who can make you feel something, you always take notice to that.
for sure, yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't if anybody listening has seen that movie, you'll understand why it's so like just sickening and awful. But it's not just Ezra who's in it. We've also got John C. Reilly.
Oh yeah, John C. Reilly, yeah.
He's fantastic in it, and also Tilda Swinton, which that like goes without saying. But yeah, John C. Reilly is very like the whole cast do very well. Like it's a really well done movie. I watched it more than once because it did stick with me. But just in a terrible way, and now even more so in a terrible way. But I feel terribly for the people who first were introduced to Ezra in The Perks of Being a Wallflower and like some of the softer movies that they've done, because that is not reflective.
No, I'm kind of mad and relieved at the same time because The Perks of Being the Wallflower I never saw, but it was always a movie that I thought I'd like because it has Emma Watson, has teen themes in it. And it was always like, oh, if I can find a copy, like mind you, when this came out, streaming was barely a thing. So I wasn't rushing to get the Blu-ray of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, but I thought if I ever catch it on TV, I'm really excited to see it. Now I can never see it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've actually never seen the movie. I don't know, just never got around to it, and it was never in my like favorite scope of style of movie. I just like I never gravitated towards that. But I'm sure I'd love it, and now I don't want to watch it at all. Like it's just totally ruined. Yeah, so if people have no idea what's been going on with Ezra, first of all, do a little Google search.
Just put Ezra Miller and Google will tell you.
Just put Ezra Miller and let the search engine do the rest, because you'll get a whole bunch of top stories, most recently about an apology. But what could they be apologizing about?
Oh, an apology. That's so nice.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
What?
it?
Like they took action for what they did, but wait, what did they do?
Oh, what did they do? Well, Beeman, allow me to start from the beginning in the Wikipedia page. So, starting with disorderly conduct. On June 28th in 2011, in the midst of filming The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the classic one we were just discussing, Miller was a passenger in a vehicle that was pulled over in Pittsburgh for a broken brake light, and police discovered 20 grams of marijuana in Miller's possession, which, in my personal opinion, no No big deal. Who gives
No
a
big
shit?
whoop.
Big whoop. The actor was initially charged with drug possession, but the charge was later dropped by the judge. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You
Whatever.
could argue privilege being present.
Yeah, for sure.
But whatever. They faced a penalty of $600 for 2 citations of disorderly conduct. And then Miller later remarked, I don't feel like there's any need to hide the fact that I smoke pot. It's a harmless herbal substance that increases sensory appreciation. Whatever. They smoke pot. Me too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whatever. Oh, okay. Well, let's move on. Okay. The next
Not too bad.
one. The strangling incident.
Oh. I wasn't actually expecting it to escalate like that.
Oh, it escalates. It goes from marijuana to they strangled somebody. So this is a lot more recent. Disorderly conduct happened 2011. Strangling incident, literally word for word in Wikipedia, it says strangling incident. It happened in April 6th of 2020. So a video surfaced in a tweet that's now been deleted that showed allegedly Miller strangling a woman and throwing her to the ground.
Oh wait, I remember this video.
It's
Like
crazy.
She thought they were joking and they just didn't let go. If you haven't seen this video, I mean, obviously to the girl that got strangled, we do feel
of course
horrible that this happened to you, and you're probably humiliated. You're also probably reading the news stories currently and be like, yeah, all of you that defended them, like,
yeah,
they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, like that's crazy. I didn't know of this prior to a lot of the other more like intense stuff that I'll get into, but the strangling incident, that's terrifying. Like that's just like that in and of itself should be alarming enough to like investigate.
Yeah. Raise the red flags, literally. They're there.
Yeah. They were just Miller just got escorted off the premises. Like
again, privilege, but okay.
Did like anything escalate? Like anything at all? But I don't know. Moving on. We've got
Where do we go from here?
The Hawaii arrests. So this is the most
plural.
Yeah, more than one. So this happened this year on March 28th. Miller was arrested in Hawaii following what police said was a physical altercation with patrons after having hurled obscenities at clients at a karaoke bar. And they were charged with disorderly conduct and harassment. And then 3 weeks later, 3 weeks, not even a month, they couldn't even wait a month. On April 19th, 2022, they were again taken into custody for second-degree assault in Hawaii. This is another Hawaii arrest. They were arrested for throwing a chair, which hit a 26-year-old woman and left a half-inch cut on her forehead. And this happened after they were told to leave during a private get-together. Yeah, so they just flipped out after being told to leave. And 20 minutes after this attack happened, Miller was arrested during a traffic stop. And then hours after the second arrest, Miller pleaded no contest to the karaoke incident and was fined $500 for disorderly conduct. $500.
That's like $5 to a Hollywood star.
Yeah, that's like change in their pocket. You know what I mean? This second one, they hurled a chair at a 26-year-old woman and cut her forehead. $500 charge for that one. That happened before. Make it make sense. Moving forward, in June of 2022, we have uncovered the relationship with Tokata Iron Eyes.
I've heard of this story and it's heartbreaking.
Yes. So this is the first story that I saw that caught my attention about Ezra Miller and like opened my eyes to everything else that's been going on, the other, disorderly conduct, other incidents. So they speculate that the relationship began in 2016 when Miller was 23 and Iron Eyes was 12. 12 years old. They were 23 and Iron Eyes was 12. 12.
That's so disturbing.
Incredibly disturbing.
For also someone who can have anyone they want in Hollywood above 18, they target a 12-year-old.
Yeah, a 12-year-old activist. Anyways, it's just terrible. So, when Miller was on the set of The Crimes of Grindelwald in 2017, they invited Iron Eyes to visit. And then flash forward to 2021, Iron Eyes dropped out of school, and her parents believed that she did that in order to follow Miller. And then her parents also stated in court documents that Miller had caused bruises on her body and that Miller had groomed and manipulated her. So just like worst of the worst, lowest of the low. Text and video responses were posted on Instagram later that they believed belonged to Iron Eyes, denying her parents' allegations. However, the parents countered by claiming that she does not control her social media. Yep, that checks out considering the grooming manipulation. There's no way if she was in the same room as Miller and like under their control that she would have access to her social media. I just don't see that being a possibility.
No, not at all.
Which is so tragic. Like that's so sad. And then Iron Eyes stated in the video response that it's her own choice not to have a phone. Yeah.
That is a manipulation ingrained into her.
Big time. Like you're a young girl and it's the present day. Is it your own choice not to have a phone? Anyway, as of June 2022, the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Court issued a temporary order of protection against Miller on behalf of Toccata Iron Eyes, who is now 18. So she's 18 years old. And her parents requested the court order because of Miller's use of violence, intimidation, threat of violence, fear, paranoia, delusions, and drugs to hold sway over Iron Eyes, Toccata. So, and then as of June 10th, that was when they disappeared. Miller disappeared, and they weren't able to serve them with the order. And then they posted messages on their Instagram account mocking the court's attempts to find them. And then obviously deleted those since then, but
internet lasts forever.
Yeah, like just sick behavior. In August, so Miller's former music, this month. Miller's former music collaborator, Oliver Ignatius, stated that he witnessed Miller verbally abuse Iron Eyes over wearing makeup. And Iron Eyes defended Miller by referring to the incident as a catty comment and a part of queer dialogue, and she called the allegation of abuse homophobic.
Just for saying, yo, I don't think it's cool that Miller's yelling at you.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's homophobic?
Yeah. Yeah. Like verbally abuse a young girl for wearing makeup, and she's just been so manipulated that she defends it that way. And it's very sad.
This is obviously would be still very tragic and sad if this was a washed up actor. Obviously this shouldn't happen to anybody. But the fact that Miller has a major Hollywood movie done, ready to come out next year, adds a whole nother layer to the ethics of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Yes. For those who don't know, Ezra has been playing the Flash in the DC universe now for about 5 years. The fans have been demanding a Flash movie. The fans are getting a Flash movie. And then all this stuff has come out since the Flash movie. And from what I understand, the Flash did reshoots while Ezra was on the run. And Ezra stopped and did the reshoots. Warner Brothers allowed that.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that just came out in the news last week, I think, that they had to do reshoots for they wanted to change the ending because of obviously test audiences and responding to that. So they wanted to change the ending. I thought they might change the ending to make like Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash on television, to make him the official Flash over Ezra after all these allegations. But no, they said that Ezra showed up to set and filmed the reshoots. And this was in the middle of the police not being able to find Ezra.
That's crazy. So around June 2022, June of this year. That's crazy. Like, all of this isn't old stuff that's being dug up either. It's recent, like, current things
Yeah.
that Ezra is doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a different conversation when you talk about ethics with, the Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, whatever side you take. I don't want to get into that conversation, obviously, right now. But the thing with that was people were talking about their movies as the movies they'd done in the past. They weren't, either of them weren't in any active promotion for films. But this is like, they're still filming with Ezra.
That's crazy. And it's kind of like, the almighty dollar.
It trumps everything. And it's really unfortunate. And I just hope that there's a happy ending, but I don't see one.
Well, there ain't even an ending yet. We aren't even done yet with this.
But we're in August.
Yeah, welcome to we're gonna do flashbacks because they were doing other things while they were doing running away from law enforcement. Yeah, it goes further. So we're going back to June of 2022, June 16th. So this is 6 days, less than a week after law enforcement said they were unable to find Miller. So a mother and her 12-year-old child were granted a temporary harassment prevention order against Miller in Massachusetts after they said that Miller threatened the woman's family and showed inappropriate behavior towards the child. 12 years old? 12 years old, you say?
Yeah.
Interesting. According to the mother and child, Miller, who was originally visiting a neighbor, showed up at the family's house unexpectedly while wearing a bulletproof vest and brandishing a gun before pestering the child and uncomfortably touching the child's hips.
What the fuck?
So they just, they need a nice kick. Kicked like off a cliff.
Yeah.
The child's mother told Business Insider that Miller had known the family since February and had taken an interest in the child because of their style and maturity level.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's just classic groomer talk. Like,
yeah.
So mature for your age. Ha. Red alert.
It's not even like, I can see you being a good actress in Hollywood. I mean, that's still creepy, but that's not like, oh, you very immature, come with me. Like, oh my Lord.
Just wait, it goes on. So Miller had offered to start a clothing line with the child and fund their attendance to design school. And the mother also said that Miller considered the child to be a powerful mystical being who would be lucky to have Ezra guide and protect them. And shortly before this prevention order was granted in June, the mother stated Miller arrived at the family's house dressed as a cowboy and attempted to buy the child horses. It's clearly like a mental break.
Oh yeah, and like these families you're mentioning, they're not like famous families, they're just regular families, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah, they're not named, so like they could just be average everyday people just being targeted by this person who is mentally ill but also dangerous. Like,
very dangerous.
There's a difference between being mentally ill and dealing with it and being mentally ill and being dangerous and like making terrible choices. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know how it can go this far a lot of the time, but it keeps going. So we're going to kind of backtrack again, but then flash forward. to like recent. So, as reported by Rolling Stone, Miller has been housing a woman they met in Hilo, Hawaii, and her 3 children on Miller's farm in Stamford, Vermont since about mid-April of this year, 2022. So, allegations from both anonymous and named sources, as well as the children's father, are that guns and ammunition are easily accessible to the children, all aged 1 to 5 years old, and that the 1-year-old put a loose bullet in her mouth.
The- what are they doing? What?
Anything, anything they want. It's crazy. The woman claims that Miller has offered a refuge for healing and an escape from the children's father, who she alleges is abusive. Um, and further claims include assault rifles are propped up on piles of the children's stuffed animals. And there's heavy marijuana use, with people smoking marijuana in front of the children in rooms without proper ventilation. That bothers me, including a witness that stating that he saw Miller blow marijuana smoke into the baby's face and use their arm to waft more smoke in the baby's direction, which is just sick.
They just don't care.
That's yeah, like that's sick. I partake. I smoke a little pot, not around children, and I
No.
certainly don't blow it in people's faces. And anybody who does that, anybody who blows any kind of smoke, cigarette, marijuana, whatever it may be, and if you blow that into somebody else's face who isn't smoking, who doesn't want to smoke, who isn't old enough to smoke, anything
Yeah.
like that, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, and I never like to self-diagnose because that is the doctor's job, but it's giving sociopath where they just don't see people as humans.
Yeah,
It's
very much
it's
so.
giving, like, when in trials when murderers see the family crying and they just don't care.
Mhm.
That's what's making me really worried here.
Yeah, 100%. It could be anything on like the antisocial personality disorder kind of spectrum.
Yeah.
There's like narcissism and, like you said, sociopathy, all that stuff. Even like severe borderline, bipolar disorder can cause things like this. Like,
Are they just doing marijuana, or is there more that could be mixing in their system?
all that's reported that I've seen here is marijuana. But let's keep going. Maybe we'll uncover more.
Maybe.
So Rolling Stone also published that Miller has been running a large unlicensed marijuana cultivation operation. Great. On the weekend of August 6th, this month of 2022, Vermont State Police approached Miller's residence and repeatedly attempted to serve the mother an emergency care order that demanded the children's removal from her care and the home over fear for their safety. Thank God. Based on a DCF caseworker's affidavit, the state attorney's office had requested 2 emergency care orders over the past week that sought to transfer legal custody of the children over to the state, which is like, these poor children.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that to happen. You don't want to be turned over to the state. It's just like so sad, but they're in this terrifying, dangerous situation, and like, I just want them safe.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did this, police and social workers were unable to locate the children or the mother. And Miller told the police that the woman and her children don't live there, and they haven't for the past 2 months, which is contradicting Miller. Contradicting Miller, the DCF caseworker in her affidavit to the court presented evidence that up until late July of 2022, the woman had been regularly posting images on social media that confirm that she was living with Miller. So the Vermont State Attorney's Office stated that Miller's response seemed like an attempt to evade service of the order. So it's like they are keeping the children, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're evading that order to hand over the children to the state, and they're keeping them. So it's like a recent and terrifying situation. And then
It's still active.
it's still active. And this one as well, recently on August 7th, it just doesn't end. This they have had such a busy summer. On August 7th, 2022, Miller was charged with felony burglary in Stamford, Vermont. According to the report, Miller was identified by police via video surveillance footage. And Miller is due to be arraigned in court on September 26th, 2022.
Oh, great.
For just that, apparently.
Not for the tons of other illegal shit they're doing right now.
I hope that they, because it's been so public, and it's been widely reported, I hope that in this this court appearance, they're able to kind of like pull some other crap out, and try to charge them for that. But most recently, as of August 15th, 2022, according
Literally
to this,
5 days ago.
literally, yeah. According to this, 5 days ago, as of recording our podcast, a representative of Miller released a statement to Variety in which Miller apologizes for their past behavior, stating that they have recently gone through a time of intense crisis and have begun treatment for complex mental health issues. What do you think of that, Beeman?
If they're telling the truth that they're getting help, that's great. I hope that they're getting help in prison. It's just a lot of irredeemable shit. And the fact that it was leaked that Warner Brothers had a plan where they either scrap the movie, they heavily edit the movie, or they get Miller to do an apology, and then suddenly an apology appears. It's that I hope they're serious about it, but everything's pointing towards they're just doing this so that the Flash movie can release and that it can make money. And
Yeah.
I don't think anyone that we have mentioned in the last month of controversies is safe currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, it comes down to privilege. They have a lot of money. The studio wants more money. Ezra can get out of these problems easily with their money, just like anybody else who has money can do. So it's not exactly fair to expect that they can just apologize and move on and spend 4 weeks in a nice, expensive spa facility getting facials and talking to some psychiatrist. And the thing is, speaking from strictly like a psychology research, I'm not accredited in psychology or anything, but it's a passion and I am enrolled in school, so soon I will be. But people who have narcissistic personality disorder and narcissistic traits and people who are manipulative and people like Ezra Miller will go to therapy to become better at manipulating. So if you think that Ezra is going to go to therapy for a couple weeks and come out shiny, brand new, a beacon of health and joy and positivity and love, it's just not likely. And it's also the fact that their apology, it states that they recently went through an intense crisis, but this didn't start recently. You had a disorderly conduct in 2011 with marijuana, no big deal. However, that's still on your record. And in 2020, 2 whole years ago, you strangled a woman in Iceland.
And those reports, like all through 2021, I kept seeing people say like Ezra Miller was playing GTA in Hawaii. Like every little thing that they did would result in a news story, whether it wasn't a big news story, but maybe on TMZ, like Ezra Miller has yelled at patrons. And we knew that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
These aren't recent incidences.
No.
Well, the new ones are, but
yeah, the new ones are. And of course, it seems like it's like escalating and it's happening a lot more and it's getting worse for sure. But it's not recent. These aren't isolated incidences. It's not been recent. 2 years ago was a strangling incident. 2016, when Ezra was 23, they started a relationship with a 12-year-old. 2016.
Mhm.
6 years ago. That's not recent.
Yeah. So what do you have to say for that? You haven't apologized for that if you're saying
Yeah.
recent.
That's not recent, and that's egregious. Even as like, oh, I just wanted a friend. A 23-year-old has nothing in common with a 12-year-old.
Not at all.
Like, what are you talking about? What could you possibly talk about? There's an
Yeah.
entire 11-year difference there. It's just, it doesn't add up. It doesn't work. There's no defense. It's just gross.
It's very gross.
Yeah. So this whole situation infuriates me. And I will never support anything that Ezra Miller is in, ever.
No.
And
I
yeah.
wasn't watching the new Fantastic Beast movies anyways.
Yeah, me neither.
But it's a shame that, especially with the J.K. Rowling shit, which that's a time for a different podcast.
Oh my
but
God.
like these movies, I can't watch them now. And I feel so bad for the DC fans that are craving a good Flash movie. And it's done, it's made, and it's probably going to release, but I just can't bring myself to go see it.
Yeah.
Ethically.
Yeah. I won't be going to see it. I watched the Justice League. Was it the Justice? Yeah, I watched.
Ezra was in Justice League, yeah.
Yeah, the 2017 one, not the newer one.
Not the Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I watched the 2017 Justice League, and I just didn't care.
Yeah.
So I'm not, personally, I don't feel like I'm missing out, which is fine. I was never if you listen to our podcast from last week, I talk about Marvel. I was definitely more of a Marvel fan than I was DC. However, I still love DC, love Batman. And,
I was gonna say I really like the Batman world and
yes,
the Batman
the
villains.
Bat Fam and stuff.
Yeah.
I love Batgirl. I did read quite a few. I read a series, the Batgirl of B something. I don't know. Somebody will know. But I read that a long time ago, and I like it. And I think DC is doing amazing things, and I think their comics, yeah, they're incredible. But the movies, for me, they kind of fall flat. So I don't care much, but I did really like the new Batman.
That was pretty sick. I liked that one a lot.
It was enjoyable, dude. It was fun.
Yeah. So unfortunate. That's just the word. I don't know how it's going to end or if it's ever going to end.
I hope I don't have a lot of optimism, but I do hope that Ezra Miller can turn their life around and can get help properly.
Disappear for a long time.
Yep, and to just fuck off and go live a quiet life.
Yeah.
Don't talk to people that you are 10 years their senior. Don't do it.
Okay, so I think we're just going to take a slight break. I'll put in a little intermission music. And when we come back, we are going to talk about One for You Ladies with Harry Styles. There's a story around that, which I find very cool. But we'll be back in a moment or two. Welcome back from intermission. Coby and Rosy here. How did you enjoy your intermission?
It was great. I went to the bathroom. I saw an advertisement for classic movies.
Yeah, what classic movie did you see?
Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
Casino. And The Sound of Music.
That was great. Totally remembering those from when you went to the washroom and saw those posters on the lobby wall, and not just thinking of them on top of your head.
Yeah, right. I mean, to be honest with you, I worked at a movie theater for 6 years, so I spent a lot of time in movie theater bathrooms. The advertisements are burned into my head, so that was definitely like a combination of the 6 years I worked there of the classic movies that were shown.
There's something so nice about a movie theater, but you probably have a different opinion than me, but there's something magical about it. I don't know what it is. I don't like it when, especially when you guys like at Cineplex have 20 urinals, but that is not enough. for in between the movies. But if you go before the movie, and I have to go before the movie because I don't trust myself for 2.5 hours, and I have serious FOMO. I cannot miss anything in a movie, so I go before, and there's something just so calm. There's a rush in me because I don't know when the movie's going to start because Cineplex times are never right.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, I don't know how to explain this. I'm at the urinal and I'm doing it fast, and it's just empty and it's like backroom style and like
Totally.
yeah,
Totally.
it's a little freaky and I kind of like it. It's a fun little thrill.
Empty movie theaters are a liminal space.
Yes, liminal spaces are awesome. I
Uh,
love that.
Damn, dude. I working at the theater really early in the day, really early, was amazing. I would get to like I would do cleaning shifts or like
Mhm.
repair shifts, and I was also on the health and safety team, so I would go there to do like walkarounds and stuff every once in a while. And you would get to go up to the projection room, and our theater had like an old little like tale, like a ghost story, because it was built outside of the mall where it used to be inside of, and so it was like a recently new building.
Yeah.
But the land that it was all built on is like known to kind of be haunted, and more like activity happens there. Like there's a bunch of houses back there that are like known to be pretty haunted and
Very
pretty
haunted.
creepy. Yeah, my sister's house, for example, there's activity in there. She's got like camera footage of it on her baby's baby monitor. There's a couple orbs, and so it's kind of cool, kind of creepy. If you believe in that sort of thing, I do. Um,
I do as well.
yeah. Anyways, yeah, the building when it was built there, let me tell you, brand new. So the managers that I worked with were there when it was built. And so they know they know the building like inside and out. And years before I started there, apparently there was just like this random old man's cane that appeared in the projection room, and guests aren't allowed in there. None of us who worked there or worked there in the past used a cane. None of the repairmen that we knew of used a cane, like
Yeah.
nobody, nothing. So where did it come from? Why was it there? And then the oddest thing was that it would like move around. Nobody touched
That's
it, but it would
mhm.
be in different positions every time someone went up there. So it was like a creepy little story. So it just like added to the atmosphere of like if you've seen like Fight Club, for example. It's not like that because that's like a film projection room and it's just like one
Yeah.
projection. And so like the Cineplex ones where it's multiple auditoriums, it's all digital now. It's like these massive, massive projections, like massive projectors with computers, and everything is like with USB files and stuff. It's really interesting. Um, if you go on YouTube and you search Undercover Boss Canada Cineplex, they actually will take you through up into the projection room, and you can kind of get a sense of what it's like in there. And you get a sense of like what I went through for 6 years. But it's really cool. It's dark and it's dusty, and the only light you have is of the projectors because it has to be pitch black in there.
Oh, that's a little freaky.
It is. So all of the light is like facing out, and then you have down the halls, like really long stretches of hallways. You have these little like emergency lights, which is these really dim yellow lights on, so you can just see the end of where the corridor is and where it like forks out. And our theater was like pretty spread out. So we had the lobby, and then we had well, my arms are floating.
You're
So we had
watching the
the
video version.
yeah, if you're watching the video version, I have my green screen kind of, it's not real green screen. You can see my, you know.
Mhm.
Anyway, my arms are floating. Anyway, so we had the lobby in the middle, and then we had a bunch of auditoriums on one side, and then on the other side of the lobby were the VIP theaters, so it was a bunch of other auditoriums. And so up in the projection room, you had like long stretch of projectors, and then you had to like go through this weird maze, and it was like you had the upper management office, so there was like regional managers that worked there, and it just like yeah, you had to like follow this weird maze, go through the offices, and
Mhm.
then go into the other auditorium, and then it was another maze. It was like super long 20-foot hallway, and you could just see the end with the light. You could hear the projectors running, and it was like super loud and woo, and it was hot
Mm.
because it's super like
Yeah, a
Ugh,
lot of energy, heat energy.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was just really cool. And then we also had a bunch of storage shit up there. So you would like turn hallways and there'd be like a poster or like a cardboard cutout and it was someone's face. So it was just
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Like it's terrifying. But definitely really cool. If you work at a movie theater, it's really cool. And if you don't or you haven't, it's really cool. Watch the Undercover Boss episode.
That's cool. And I have a love for obviously movie theaters and liminal spaces and
Yeah.
just very interesting feeling. I can't really explain it, but
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of unsettling.
all right. So speaking of movie theaters, we have a big movie coming out next
Mm.
month. Don't Worry, Darling, starring
Mhm.
Mr. Harry Styles and Miss Florence Pugh, directed by Olivia Wilde. And the reason why are you bringing up this movie? Why aren't you talking about, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, big Marvel movie? We're talking about this because there's a little bit of controversy
I
around
like a
Don't
good
Worry, Darling.
controversy.
We love a good controversy.
Love a good controversy.
So this movie was filmed last year, and the press has beginning, and people started to notice that Florence Pugh wasn't really updating with the press. She just literally posted last week a picture of the poster and was like, "Yeah, go see this movie." So that brings us to fan culture and theorizing, because Florence Pugh has a lot of fans, as does Harry Styles. And yes, you were a big Florence Pugh
I
fan.
have loved Florence Pugh for a long time.
She's fantastic in all those A24 films.
Yeah.
She's fantastic in many good films. And yeah, she has this big fan base, and they're very protective over Florence. They noticed that she wasn't posting as much, and they wanted to look into it. And there was rumors at the time that Harry and Olivia, we all know that they're together now. There is slight rumors that they might have not have been together, and Olivia was together with her previous husband at the time of filming, and Olivia and Harry did the thing, and she cheated on her husband, and Florence was mad at that. That is just a rumor, though. And then a lot of interesting things. So the Don't Worry Darling trailer released. It's a very good trailer. It's about a, kind of Truman Show like cult that in the 1950s that Florence is brought into with all these women that are married to Air Force pilots, it looks like. And a lot of shit's going on. But the big talking point of the trailer was the sex in it. Olivia Wilde has gone on record to say that she wanted to reinvent sex and make it exciting in movies again. And one of the big parts of that trailer is seeing Harry Styles go down on Florence Pugh. And that got a lot of fans excited. I mean, you have Harry Styles, the biggest pop star in the world right now, and Florence Pugh, one of the biggest actresses, talked about actresses. But then Florence came out and actually made a quote about this scene, because there was so many articles, and every single article written about Don't Worry Darling was talking about, the sex looks so good in this movie, and like, oh yes, women's rights, man going down on Florence, which is literally the bare minimum, boys. Just eat your woman out, okay? Florence said, quote, "When it's reduced to your sex scenes or to watch the most famous man in the world go down on someone, it's not why we do it. It's not why I'm in this industry. Obviously, the nature of hiring the most famous pop star in the world, you're going to have conversations like that. That's just not what I'm going to be discussing, because this movie is bigger and better than that. And the people who made it are bigger and better than that." So, Rosie, it seems that maybe fan culture has went a little far with, Florence being mad during the movie and spiraled. But because it seems like she does enjoy this movie, she loves it, but she hates how the media is portraying it.
Yeah, it could be. Definitely fans go crazy. Like, yeah, it's just what they do. It's always speculation, heavy speculation, and like opinions are taken as fact. Fandoms are like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of my least favorite parts, but because like they're all humans, like it's very complicated a lot of the time. I can understand her frustration. Like, I wouldn't, if I was super proud of my performance in something and
The
all the
trailer is the sex scenes.
yeah, all the press, all the marketing is all about the sex and the sex scenes. And it's like, is this like, there's totally nothing wrong with being open and honest about sex and your sexuality and to embrace it. And like, yeah, it's totally normal.
And I think that's what Olivia is trying to say.
Totally, which I totally support that message. But on the other end, women for decades have been exploited for
Mhm.
sex and used simply for sex in movies and TV shows. And literally, how Florence puts it, it just gets reduced to sex. Women for decades have just been reduced to sex and sex sells and all this shit. And that's something we're trying to move away from, or,
Mm-hmm.
my beliefs. We're trying to move away from that and trying to stop objectifying people and just start humanizing them and treating them like humans. And, you can have the best of intentions, but the way that it's received is what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And I fear that something like that could totally go the opposite way that Olivia is intending. And, it just, I've already heard a lot of nasty, like gross, disrespectful comments about Florence Pugh because she's a woman. She's a very beautiful woman. I've heard
Mm-hmm.
it, I see it, and it just like it upsets me because she's a very talented, dedicated actress. She's like respectable and she's someone to look up
Yeah.
to. And she's honest and she's very
And
transparent about
she's
who she
very,
is.
yeah, and she's a big advocate for crews of movies. I'm just going
Yes.
through this article here, and they said that Olivia never posted, or sorry, Florence never posted anything about Olivia, but Florence did post everything about how the crew had to be up at 2 a.m. to make this movie happen every day. And I don't think the absence of Olivia is what Florence is going for here. It's just showing that movies can be made by hundreds of people. And
Yeah,
Florence is a big advocate for that.
for sure. Because a lot of the time people forget. You get lost behind the big names and you forget how many people actually touch a movie before you see it with your own eyes.
Mhm.
And like how much effort and time and energy is put into it by so many people and so many teams of people. And I love it. Florence has always been an advocate for, appreciating the crew and everybody. And that's what I like. And she seems very transparent about who she
Mhm.
is. Like I've watched her little like cooking vlogs that she does on Instagram sometimes, and it's
Mhm.
it's like hanging out in her apartment is what it feels like. Like she could be a
Yeah,
YouTube
very
vlogger.
relatable. I know that Florence made an appearance in Hawkeye in episode 5, and there was a video on her Instagram which she had to take down because spoilers, but it was her and Zach Braff screaming when she appeared on the screen. Like, it was so relatable. Now her and Zach Braff just split this week as I'm
Oh
making
yeah.
this, but yeah, it's a very relatable thing, and I think Florence knows both sides,
Yeah.
like who she's making the movies for. And I think it could be frustrating for her having to face the backlash. I don't know. She knows what people want, and she's giving us what they want: someone relatable on the screen and someone who's fun and appreciates the workers. And people
Yeah.
just shit on her relentlessly.
I know. And it reminds me a lot of what like Jennifer Lawrence was. And yeah, she's
Mm.
like definitely more problematic and a little bit just she was more problematic
Yeah.
at the time. And she did some questionable things, said some questionable things, but she was that like transparent, honest, very talented actress. She's very similar to like how Florence Pugh is regarded now. And we saw what happened to Jennifer Lawrence, what killed her career, and it was the fact that her private pictures were leaked and
Hmm.
she was reduced to nothing, an object for sex.
Hmm.
Obviously, anybody who's an actress and sees that happen so quickly to somebody, completely out of their control, it's scary and like you don't want that happening to yourself. You want your career to be your career. You don't want to just be known for your body. You want to be known for what you do
Hmm.
and what you've done and your skills. And
Hmm.
what you work your ass off doing, and making it all about the sex scenes and all about her physicality. And intimacy is great,
Yeah.
being sexually open is great, um normalizing it's fantastic. Like, we need to do that 100%. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about sex. Throwback. And this goes the other way. Actually, I'm gonna come to defense of Harry Styles here, who ever since he was a teenage boy has been this
Yeah.
heartthrob icon for young girls.
Big
Come
time.
on now. Like,
Mm.
it's taking his acting career and all of a sudden highlighting a lot about sex.
Because sex
And
sells and
because
puts
sex
people in
sells.
the seats. Like,
Yeah.
even I'm interested in seeing this movie because it's Harry Styles. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, there's a way to do it that I think is more successful. And I think people have just forgotten the art of subtlety.
Yeah. And you know what? To start on the first point of the whole feuding between Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh, because it's because Harry and Olivia cheated on their partners and they're together. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's a complicated post-production situation that has to do with the exploitation of two of Hollywood's biggest actors that the media set up. I think Olivia, like, I see a picture of her, she's advertising the movie, talking about how she's making sex positive. She's wearing t-shirts calling the future as female ejaculation. Like, she's so much for that. And as you said, there's a good place for that. We need to talk about that. But also, it's putting people in seats.
For sure.
And it coming back to money. We're coming back to the Ezra Miller conversation we had earlier. They're releasing The Flash.
Yeah.
And because it puts people in seats.
That's true.
So where's the ethical line? And I think Florence has a tough time finding that.
Mm-hmm. And this also could be a case of Florence read the script and got a completely different meaning from it than what Olivia actually intended.
It's very interesting, and it's hard for us to say because we're just going off a trailer, which, by the way, a lot of people might not know this, but a lot of trailers are made by a completely different company than the movie. They send it to a trailer house.
Yep.
And then it comes out, and it is obvious that Olivia is very sex positive. Mm-hmm. So she might have had some direction in it, but there's totally different people that make trailers. And when you're a trailer company, you want to sell views and talk about trailers, and you have a whole 2-hour movie of Florence and Harry with it might be just 2 minutes of sex for all we know. And that is going to be the 2 minutes of the trailer.
Yeah, for real.
But that's the kind of story of Don't Worry, Darling. I would like more information, of course. Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting that there's sides of the story when we don't know anything. And I think that's fan culture, and rumors are going to happen. Florence just made one statement and posted a poster, and suddenly we're talking about on this podcast all these different theories. And I think that's a side effect of social media.
For sure. And that is interesting because right now we're talking about all these theories, and before we were talking about literal convictions.
Yes.
And like factual documented things that happened. And so it's like kind of an important lesson of remember when things are just speculation, it's not fact. Keep that in mind. But when things are fact and when things are backed up with documentation and everything like that, you can't deny it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll still be going to the theaters to see this. You're going to the theaters to see this?
I probably, I love Florence. I want to support her. And I am interested to see the movie. I love female directors. Sex positive is a movement that I'm for, like I said. It's just, got to go about it carefully and not go too far the other way where we start objectifying again.
Exactly. I think that sums it up well. Yeah. I know that
main point though, let women dress the way they want.
Oh yes.
Like, that's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm not trying to be like, dress modestly. No, fuck that shit.
Oh no. And when I mentioned, her shirt earlier, I wasn't going against that. That's a great shirt. The future is female ejaculation. Yeah. Wear that all around.
Hell yeah. Let's not forget about female ejaculation.
Yes. what I was trying to mention with going to the theater is that my girlfriend Katie will be accompanying me because she is a massive Harry Styles fan. She saw One Direction in concert when they were still together years ago.
Wow.
And she just went to the concert last Monday to see Harry Styles.
Did she enjoy?
She enjoyed. She screamed her heart out. She caught COVID, but it was worth it, she said.
No, Katie. Yeah, that's worth it. Fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, I just say Harry gave it to her when people ask. But
yeah, totally.
But I just wanted to briefly touch on, Harry being a movie star and also a pop star and just concert culture. Now, Katie bought a seat. She was way up in the 300s because that's the only thing that us poor people can afford. But what is going on with people lining up now 3 days in advance to see a concert for floor tickets for Barricade? Toronto doesn't even allow that, but people were trying to line up 3 days in advance.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's an insult to the homeless for one thing, and sucks that the police took a long time to kick out the line waiters. But a lot of people are like, why are you waiting 3 days in advance? You just get in line, you make your way to the front.
Yeah.
Harry is one of the biggest artists right now. But please just get seats, assigned seating. It is so fun and much better, and I promise you'll have a good time.
I have done both. So for smaller venues and smaller shows, and certain bands, I will get floor seats for.
Oh, for sure.
Only if I can afford it, to a certain degree. And then of course, if I'm at a festival or something, I gotta be at least near the front. I'm agoraphobic. I get I'm claustrophobic. I'm not actually super fearful of crowds. It's more crowd crushing that scares me, so I don't like to put myself in that position. So when I went to see Queen, we got seats like these, right? So
yes,
I'm pointing to my background. It's an auditorium. Yeah, so we were sitting in the seats, and I love sitting in the seats. You meet people, and it's way less pushy and stressful. You're not closer to the artist, but when it's a massive artist, like someone like Harry Styles, it's and you're not, the odds of you getting to touch him and all this stuff, it's very low, especially nowadays, COVID security. Yeah. It's just not the same, and it's not. And it's scary, and it's dangerous, and people get hurt in crowds, and people try to mosh at concerts that aren't mosh concerts, and people who start those mosh pits a lot of the time are just trying to be fucking aggressive and violent because it's not a mosh concert. Why are you shoving people around? The floor in a mosh pit is one of the safest places to be if you're in a floor. So, if you don't mind being jostled around, but they'll pick you right up. You know what I mean? But yeah, the floor nowadays is just not the same in massive venues and for massive artists. But I go to see July Talk, for example. They're I won't say smaller, but they are smaller Canadian band. And so when I go to see them, it feels more intimate, and I can come closer to the stage and not feel super scared. And they also interact with the crowd a lot because it's more intimate, and they can. And, the bigger artists do what they can with the crowds that they get.
But Harry is so big that and people were saying on TikTok, and Katie even mentioned it a little bit, he didn't talk to the crowd as much. And then I saw on TikTok, not even 24 hours after he was in Toronto, he's already in New York. It's strictly a job. He's too famous to have that.
Yeah, you can't have that one-on-one. Yeah, exactly. The intimacy is he's got to try to have it with everybody all at once. Yeah. And it's tough, and it's great. He's amazing at it. Big artists and performers who can control a crowd like that are gifted, obviously. But
for the chances he got, he did some really cool stuff with the crowd. But
absolutely. I was never a One Direction fan. I've never been super into Harry's music or anything. I've seen him act. I like him. I like who he is. I like the songs that I hear. Obviously, on the internet, I have heard Watermelon Sugar. You know what I mean? But he's got some good songs, and I think he's talented. But yeah, he's just so massive that if I went to his concert, I wouldn't be like, even if I was the biggest Harry Styles fan ever, maybe when I was a teenager, I would hope. But now it's like, there's just no chance. There's just
Yeah.
no shot.
You're there to listen to the album and
Yep.
see a celebrity in person, which is pretty cool.
For
I
sure.
don't fault anyone to go, and Katie had a great time.
I love concerts though. Yeah, if you want that like super intimate, close experience with an artist, find smaller local artists.
Yes, they're begging you to come
For
to their
real.
shows and meet them.
A lot of the time it's free. They're like
Mm.
playing at bars and it's just a gig, or like even going to open mic nights, and there's a lot of talented people in your small local communities. You
Yes.
just got to look around. Even if you're in a bigger city like Toronto, or you
Mhm.
know, a moderate sized city, the massive cities too, like there's constantly things going on. So
Yeah.
get out
And
there, find
guess
smaller
what?
people to
If you
interact with.
find 50 bands, there may be 2 that'll get big, and you can gatekeep the hell out of them because you found them
Exactly.
first. And we
Exactly.
all love to gatekeep every once in a while.
Oh, we love it when we get an opportunity to gatekeep. 100%. 100%.
Of course, we thank you all for listening, but we cannot end our podcast without our fluff piece of the day.
Mhm.
And let's just... It's not really a fluff piece.
No, it's not.
It's so sad.
Yeah. Makes me
Our
sad.
queen of spandex and voices, Olivia Newton John, has passed away. We just wanted to give her a little tribute since we are a film podcast. And I think Sandy, the role of Sandy in Grease, defined who we are as people.
Honestly, I saw Grease really young, as a
Mm.
lot of people did. And yeah, as a girl, you know, you connect with Sandy, pining for a boy, pining for that summer love. And she's Australian.
She was just cool
Yeah, she was awesome.
when she was a nerd, and when she changed herself at the end of the movie for Danny. She was cool.
It's not worth it, ladies. Don't change who you are.
But yeah, Grease was
Unless
my
it's
first...
who you want to be. Unless he
Exactly.
introduced you to who you want to be, which I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah, and hey, Danny changed himself at the end of the movie too.
Yeah.
Not many people remember that. He wore a Letterman jacket, and all the greasers were like, "What the fuck you wearing?" I'm paraphrasing, of course, but yeah, Grease for me, I was very young when I first saw it, and there's crack in that movie. I don't know what it is.
Right. It's just so good.
It's so good. All the high schoolers are 40. It's very fun. There hasn't been really a movie musical since that has captured that. They all kind of suck compared to if you see the Broadway plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, Grease was great. Olivia Newton John. Very sad to hear of your passing, but we enjoyed the music.
Thank you.
Wow, our fluff pieces went from Prince William getting pegged last week to Olivia Newton John driving away into the sky. What was the ending of that movie? I still don't know.
Drugs.
Danny and Sandy crashed their car.
No.
Heading to that malt shop in the sky. Rosie, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Rosy Skies TV. Also on Twitch at Rosy Skies, and epals.gg if you'd like to play some Valorant. I will also be adding some more services on there, things like teaching you how to video edit, perhaps teaching you how to run a YouTube channel, perhaps. So yeah, if you're interested in kind of like starting your own content creation stuff, I would like to help.
And because we're not a big podcast, if you're listening to this now, you get to gatekeep Rosie.
Yeah, exactly. Or like even collaborate with us on things. We're always looking for people to collaborate with and stuff. But yeah, I'll get Coby that link to my ePals to put in the description so you guys can check that out. Where can people find you, Coby?
Ringo Jake 41 at Twitter and Instagram. Woodwir Cinemas, WODWIR Cinemas for YouTube. If you were listening last time, we were talking about the Mothman video. It is out. It is glorious.
I love
Please
it.
Watch it.
It's the best.
This podcast, of course, gets uploaded pretty well every other week, I like to say. That's
Yeah,
a
we
good
try to be
estimate.
consistent about a week every other week.
And of course, refer your friends to this podcast.
Yeah.
We are Apple, Spotify. Thank you to Anchor for being the service that we post our podcast on. Anchor, you
Thank
are
you,
awesome.
Anchor.
You make it very easy for me to post podcasts.
That's
We're
awesome.
there, and the video version, of course, is on YouTube, as I mentioned.
Yep, not sponsored.
Not sponsored
Not
by
sponsored.
Anchor, please
And-
sponsor us. Yes.
And if you like this podcast, my good friend Dalt Wisney has a live talk show on his Twitch channel, Dalt Wisney Twitch. And it's all about spooky stuff and occult stuff and
that.
aliens. So it's really cool, really interesting. I might be on next Wednesday, the 24th. Next Wednesday, the 24th, I might be on daltwisney.twitch,
Excellent.
twitch.tv/daltwisney. And he also does tarot streams and gaming streams. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a really loving little community. So I hang out there a lot. So if you can't find me on Twitter, you can find me in there probably.
That's awesome. All right. If you guys at home have any comments on the Ezra Miller situation, if you have any, I'm sure you all have comments on it.
Yeah, share your thoughts, please.
Yeah.
If you have differing opinions, like, let us know.
Yeah, and we'll most likely respond to it.
Yeah, I like talking and like sharing different perspectives and stuff like that. So never feel discouraged opening a discussion with us. We're not going to shut you down.
And, you can submit that for the Ezra Miller story. We talked about Olivia Wilde, Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Don't Worry, Darling. Are you going to go see the movie? What is your take on the drama? And
if you have any topics you think we should cover, let us know. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And have a lovely, lovely night. And we will see you next time.
We thank you for joining us this evening. Remember, any cars left here overnight will be towed. We hope to see you back here at Woodwir Cinemas for some more lobby snacks in the future. We'll see you next time, folks.